Ever wondered if the device in your hand, buzzing with Wi-Fi and Bluetooth signals, owes its existence to a golden age Hollywood starlet? Here's what they don't tell you about the dazzling actress who secretly shaped our digital world. Her name was Hedy Lamarr, and her story isn't just about red carpet glamour or on-screen romance. It's a mind-bending tale that stretches from the gilded cages of pre-war Vienna to the backlots of MGM, culminating in an invention so revolutionary it was decades ahead of its time. We're talking about the secret genius, the ghost in your machine, who didn't just light up the silver screen, but laid the foundation for virtually all modern wireless communication. Prepare to see your technology and the history behind it in a completely new light, because the truth about Hedy Lamarr is far more electrifying than any movie plot she ever graced. Before she was a global sensation, before she was dubbed the most beautiful woman in the world, Hedy Lamarr constantly watched her, monitoring her movements, censoring her friendships. But it was within this oppressive environment, ironically, that her genius truly began to ferment. While Mandel boasted to his associates about his latest military technologies, radio-controlled torpedoes, advanced anti-aircraft systems, secret communication methods, Hedy was always present, always listening. She might have appeared to be a beautiful, silent observer, but her mind was actively absorbing every detail, every technical conversation. She learned about the vulnerabilities of these systems, especially how radio-guided torpedoes could be easily jammed by enemies simply broadcasting a competing signal on the same frequency. These seemingly casual observations made under duress would become the very foundation of her future groundbreaking invention. The seeds of revolution were planted in the most unlikely of places, the opulent yet stifling drawing rooms of a European arms dealer. The gilded cage eventually became unbearable. At just 22, Hedy decided to escape. The stories vary. Some say she drugged her maid and slipped away. Others claim she simply ran off during a dinner party. However it happened, it was a daring act of defiance, a desperate flight for freedom. She shed her identity as Mrs. Mandel, leaving behind the suffocating world of arms deals and oppressive control. With jewels sewn into her coat and a burning ambition, she boarded a ship for London and then famously a liner bound for America, where she secured a contract with MGM studio head Louis B. Mayer, who rechristened her Hedy Lamarr. She arrived in Hollywood as a symbol of allure and mystique, a European siren ready to captivate American audiences. But underneath the dazzling surface, the analytical mind from Vienna, the one that had secretly catalogued Mandel's military secrets, was still very much alive. She was now free, but the knowledge she carried was heavy, and the world was hurtling towards war. Hollywood embraced Hedy Lamarr as an exotic beauty, casting her in roles that often highlighted her stunning looks more than her acting prowess. She starred opposite leading men like Clark Gable and Spencer Tracy, captivating audiences in films like Algiers, Boomtown, and Samson and Delilah. Her image was carefully curated, the glamorous star, the epitome of elegance. But beneath this carefully constructed facade, Hedy was restless. She found the acting work unfulfilling, often describing it as easy and lamenting the lack of intellectual challenge. So during the long hours on set or late into the night at home, she indulged her secret passion, inventing. She had a small drafting table in her trailer, and in her spare time, she would tinker with ideas. She proposed improvements to traffic lights, designed a tablet that would dissolve in water to create a carbonated drink, which she considered a failure because it tasted terrible, and even suggested modifications to aircraft wings. Her mind was a whirlwind of ideas, constantly seeking to improve, to understand, to innovate. But this intellectual pursuit was largely hidden. Society, and certainly Hollywood, wasn't ready for a beautiful actress who was also a serious inventor. The prevailing stereotype demanded she be merely ornamental, a muse, not a mastermind. If she revealed her true intellectual depths, she feared it would detract from her carefully crafted screen persona, or worse, that she wouldn't be taken seriously at all. So the inventor, the curious mind, remained largely invisible, masked by the dazzling glow of superstardom. The world saw a goddess on screen, but they missed the genius quietly at work behind the scenes. As World War II raged across Europe, the insights Hedy had gathered from her first husband's dinner parties gnawed at her. She understood the critical importance of reliable communication and the devastating potential of jamming enemy signals. The thought of radio-guided torpedoes being easily intercepted haunted her. She wanted to contribute to the war effort, beyond just selling war bonds. But how could a Hollywood actress, a civilian, with no formal engineering training, make a tangible difference in military technology? The answer arrived in the unlikely form of George Antheil. Antheil was an avant-garde composer, known for his experimental and often controversial musical pieces, including one that incorporated airplane propellers and multiple player pianos. He was a flamboyant figure, a maverick, and like Hedy, possessed an unconventional mind. They met at a dinner party and bonded over their shared interest in invention and their mutual frustration with the limitations of current technology. Hedy shared her deep concern about the vulnerability of Allied torpedo guidance systems. She explained how a single static radio frequency made them easy targets for enemy jamming. Antheil, with his background in synchronized player pianos, immediately grasped the problem and, crucially, began to envision a solution. Their collaboration was as unique as their individual personalities. They would spend hours discussing, sketching, and refining their idea. Hedy's understanding of military hardware and communication vulnerabilities, combined with Antheil's mastery of synchronized mechanical systems, led them to a revolutionary concept: frequency hopping. Imagine two people trying to talk on a walkie-talkie. If a third person wants to block their conversation, they just need to broadcast static on that single channel. But what if the two speakers could constantly, rapidly, and unpredictably switch channels in perfect sync? The jammer would only catch snippets, never the full message. That was the essence of frequency. To achieve this synchronized channel switching, Antheil proposed using technology similar to the paper rolls used in player pianos. These rolls had perforations that, when fed through a mechanism, would trigger different piano keys at precise moments. They envisioned a system where a miniaturized piano roll, synchronized perfectly between a transmitting ship and a torpedo, would rapidly change the radio frequency being used to guide the torpedo. Each key on the roll would correspond to a different radio frequency. The enemy, only able to jam one frequency at a time, would find it impossible to block the constantly shifting signal. They patented this secret communication system in 1942, describing a method for spread-spectrum communication that was robust, secure, and virtually unjammable. It was an astonishing leap forward, a concept so advanced that the military didn't even have the technology to implement it at the time. With their patent in hand, Hedy and George eagerly presented their invention to the US Navy. They believed they had offered a crucial advantage to the Allies, a way to turn the tide in the naval war. But their reception was, to put it mildly, disheartening. The Navy officials, predominantly men, saw Hedy Lamarr not as a brilliant inventor, but as a famous actress. Her glamour, rather than her intellect, seemed to be all they could perceive. They couldn't fathom that such a beautiful woman could possess such a complex technical understanding, let alone co-invent such a sophisticated system. Their invention was dismissed. The technology was deemed too complicated and impractical for the time. The idea of using piano rolls in a torpedo, while ingenious, was mechanically challenging to implement with existing wartime technology. But beyond the technical hurdles, there was a palpable air of sexism and skepticism. A well-known anecdote recounts Hedy being told, "Go sell war bonds, that's what you're good for." It was a devastating blow. Here she was, offering a truly innovative solution to a critical wartime problem. And she was told to revert to her ornamental role. The Navy, blinded by prejudice and perhaps a lack of imagination, failed to recognize the immense potential of what Hedy and George had created. They let a revolutionary concept, one that could have saved countless lives and ships, languish in obscurity, effectively telling one of the greatest untapped minds of the era to stick to her day job. Hedy did go on to sell war bonds, raising millions of dollars, but the sting of the Navy's rejection of her true contribution never truly left her. For years, Hedy Lamarr's secret communication system lay dormant, an unfulfilled promise in the archives of innovation. The patent expired in 1959, the technology largely ignored. But as the Cold War intensified and the demand for secure and robust communication systems grew, engineers began to revisit the concept of spread-spectrum technology. In the 1950s, engineers at Sylvania Electric Products independently developed a similar technique, oblivious to Hedy and George's earlier work. It wasn't until the 1960s, with the advent of digital electronics and miniaturization, that the principles of frequency hopping became truly practical. The US military eventually adopted variations of frequency hopping for secure communications, recognizing its inherent resistance to jamming and interception. It was a silent, uncredited victory for Hedy Lamarr. Then, in the 1980s and 1990s, as the digital revolution gained momentum, the commercial potential of spread-spectrum technology exploded. Engineers realized that frequency hopping wasn't just good for military secrecy. It was perfect for creating efficient, reliable wireless networks, where multiple devices could coexist without interfering with each other. Think about your daily life. Every time your phone automatically connects to Wi-Fi at home or in a coffee shop, you're experiencing a direct descendant of Hedy Lamarr's invention. Wi-Fi networks use complex variations of frequency hopping and spread spectrum to manage multiple devices and maintain stable connections, even in crowded environments. When you pair your Bluetooth headphones to your phone, or connect your wireless mouse to your computer, that seamless, short-range communication relies on the very principles she envisioned. Even GPS, which guides millions of people every day, uses spread-spectrum techniques to make its signals more resistant to interference and more accurate. It's an incredible irony. The woman who was told to go sell war bonds now has her ghost in almost every piece of wireless technology we interact with. Her fame as a movie star, which initially overshadowed her intellectual achievements, later became a barrier to acknowledging her true contribution. For decades, the public saw only the beautiful face, never the brilliant mind that sparked the digital revolution. She truly is the ghost in your machine, silently powering the connected world we now take for granted. It wasn't until the 1990s, when Hedy Lamarr was in her late 70s, that her remarkable contribution finally began to receive the recognition it deserved. Tech enthusiasts and engineers, tracing the lineage of spread-spectrum technology, rediscovered her forgotten patent. In 1997, Lamarr and Amthil were jointly honored with the Electronic Frontier Foundation, EFF Pioneer Award, a prestigious accolade for those who have made significant contributions to computer-based communications. This was followed by induction into the National Inventors Hall of Fame in 2014. These belated acknowledgements were a bittersweet victory for Hedy, who had lived much of her life frustrated by the dismissal of her intellectual talents. Her story is a powerful reminder that genius can truly exist in the most unexpected places and behind the most unlikely guises. It challenges our preconceived notions about who an inventor can be, smashing stereotypes that confine creativity to labs or formal academic settings. Hedy Lamarr wasn't just a glamorous actress. She was a self-taught, visionary innovator whose profound insights, born out of desperate necessity and keen observation, paved the way for technologies that underpin our modern world. Her legacy isn't just about the technology itself, but about the enduring lesson that we must look beyond the surface, beyond the superficial, to appreciate the true depth and ingenuity of individuals. She was a woman who refused to be confined by expectations, a true pioneer whose ghost continues to shape our digital landscape, reminding us that the greatest innovations often come from those daring enough to think differently, no matter what their public persona might suggest. If Hedy Lamarr's incredible story surprised you, smash that like button and tell us in the comments, what other hidden figures do you admire?